On today's episode, we're in my back room of my basement again. Let's do some laundry. But for real, we're not doing laundry today. I'll show you what I meant by those later. You haven't seen these in a while, and we are in my basement again. But it's because it's kind of cold out, and I'm not too confident that epoxy's gonna cure with the temperatures outside right now. So I figured we get started on the laminate for the engine beds. Take a look at what's up. So, like all my workspaces, it's a disaster down here because I got the ADDDDHDADDDADDD. And this is our sapele, if you haven't seen the other videos. This is going to be the coring for our engine beds. So here are the outer engine beds, and over here on the wall, these are our inner engine bed cores. These guys we're going to have to do in a little while because I've got to do some finagling with the Kusa board here. But our inners are all set. So what we're going to do right now is I'm going to take this. I am going to take the other one that's over there on the floor, and look at that. I am going to keep my concrete floor clean without epoxy drips. I prepared! But anyways, I am going to take some non-thickened epoxy and I'm going to lay it all out across this because I want to impregnate that with the epoxy. I want to make sure that all of those tiny little pores in the inside here are filled and everything is impregnated so that the thickened epoxy can go right over the top of it, then the Kusa will go on top of it, and then we'll put our weights, which are our laundry detergent bottles, filled with water, and we will let this sit for the night. Now, this back room is warm enough, but just to ensure, just because we do have that door that goes to the outside and we could get some little drafts, we want to make sure that our epoxy stays nice and toasty overnight, cozy in its little bed, curing, becoming good friends, and becoming one solid piece. So we're going to keep our space heater on overnight. Also, this is just a mess, but I am playing around with some 3D printing stuff. I'm a tinkerer. If you guys want to see some of that, let me know. I might even make some parts for the boat. Haven't decided yet, but let's get to the laminate on this. So the epoxy we're going to be using is called Rocca. They are their own company, but I usually buy this from Fiberglass Supply Depot down in Florida. Honestly, I've had really great luck with this. I've done a transom with it. I've done a Boston whaler with it, and now I'm going to be doing these engine beds, and I've also done some other recoring with it as well. This stuff really works out nice, and it flows really nicely. This stuff is it has low viscosity, so it actually flows really, really easy, and you don't get a lot of that, thickness with hot. I don't know, but anyways. So we're going to mix some of this up, and like I said, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to do a non-thickened batch just on top to fill some of these, fill the voids on the wood and really just seal this up so it's going to be safe. And then what I'll end up doing is I'm going to pour out thickened epoxy, I'm going to trowel that out, and then I'm actually going to flip my wooden piece here on top of this. And then once that's on top and adjusted the way that I want it, I'm then going to take another piece. I will pour thickened epoxy on top of my thin layer of epoxy there, and then I'll squeeze that down and I will put my shampoo bottles on top of that. If you notice, some of the pieces of Kusa, they're not totally square. I did cut them with the jigsaw. Yes, please don't make fun of me. But these engine beds are actually cut oversized, and I did that on purpose because I wanted to make sure that when I'm building these, I'm building them close to the original engine beds, but I also want to make sure that I do have a little bit of room for error, because you can always subtract, but it's much harder to add. So a little bit of extra is okay. I have a bandsaw and a table saw. When I need to rip them down, I'll rip them down, and then we'll take them from there. So I'm going to mix this stuff up. Give me a minute, and then I will show you how we're going to lay this thing up. Stay tuned. So I've mixed up my thin epoxy here, and I realized, here, let me tilt this up a little bit so you can see the dome. But honestly, you don't need to see my face. You just need to see the actual project going on. So I've got this big thing of epoxy here, and it's thin, and it's nice and mixed up. I turned the space heater off, and I am going to be working a little bit quickly here. and the only reason I'm going to be working a little bit more quickly is because this is a big container. This is a lot of epoxy. Epoxy goes through a thermodynamic reaction where it actually gives off heat from the chemical reaction. And in the past, what I've actually had happen is big containers like this will start smoking in your hand, and you don't want that to happen. So I'm going to start laying this thing up, and then once I'm ready to do my thicken, then I'll mix that up. I'm not going to do that quite yet. I also just realized that I have like the world's smallest paintbrush, but that's okay. So honestly, I'm probably just going to pour a lot of this out. Get that laid on here. I also did rough up the surface on this to also get a nice mechanical bond, because you just really want as much material of the wood as well as the kusa that this epoxy can embed itself into and grab to just really get that good adhesion and to give you that strong bond. Bond and adhesion are like the same word, but you know what I mean. Yeah, you can see this stuff. I don't know if you can see it. This stuff flows out really nicely. Really nice to work with. No, I'm not affiliated with Rocca in any way, but it's good. It's a good product, and the nice thing is it's affordable as well. You can get a 3-gallon kit for like 200 and something bucks. So because of budget as well as how well it performs, it's my go-to epoxy. And now we'll just get a little bit more on here. And I'm not being too finicky as well with how much epoxy is on here, because the more spooge and squish out, the better actually, because then you know that everything is really taking shape and is connecting there. This stuff, if breathed in, will put you on one of those commercials.
People who have been diagnosed with mesothelioma have many questions.
Yeah, this stuff will give you the big C if inhaled and ingested properly, so always wear a mask. So once you have your thickened epoxy made, you want this stuff to be like the consistency of like a peanut butter, a Greek yogurt, tapioca pudding. You know, you want it thick. That's why it's called thickened epoxy. But so I'm just going to take this and squirt it out onto this Kusa board. And then I'm just going to kind of trowel it out with the popsicle stick that I have here. Because you want it to cover everything. You want it to get all in these nooks and crannies. And you don't want any voids. Okay, I may have gone a little crazy with the thickened epoxy, and I may not have gotten it as thick as I wanted. It's like just too thin. But do you hear that? Hell yeah. This is what I'm talking about. You clamp it down, and you want to see all of this just... And the reason why is because you know that there is enough in there that you are going to get great adhesion all throughout. And would you look at that? Engine bed number 1 is ready to go. 3 more, baby! So yeah, lesson learned. Put supports under next time. Totally forgot. Down in the basement, well, up in the basement, because I have to walk up a massive hill to get to my house from the garage, we are creating. In the Kwanzaa hut, we are destroying. My battery on my camera died, and then I went to go get another one, and turns out all of them were dead, you know, par for the course. And I was like, I'm not waiting for another battery, so I went ahead and removed that rotted out engine bed. That was really the big failure, and the port one is also starting to go in the rear as well. But yeah, it was just 2 pieces of oak laminated together, and I don't know, kind of cool. I'm not going to get rid of it. I have some ideas for it. This could be cool. But yeah, so I got that one out, and now, oh yeah, and I moved the electrical panel that was down here, and whoever glassed that in, I don't know, man, where'd that go? There's no resin in any of this fiberglass. It's basically like dry, just little bits of weave, and yeah, okay. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm probably going to take a piece of 3/4 inch Kusa, run it through the center of the forward bulkhead and then the aft bulkhead. And then that'll also give some structure and support back here for the fuel shutoffs that are mounted back here as well. And so yeah, I'm just going to keep on destroying. Look at that. Starboard side engine beds are gone. Time to do port side. I'm just going to speed this up, and I'm going to listen to some tunes, and I'm going to get these out. So yeah. Also, it's okay. I won't hurt the stringers. Shocker, my battery died. Did you guys see me almost light my boat on fire though? That was pretty cool. We are bedless. There are no more beds at the inn for now. We are remodeling. The port beds actually were in pretty good shape, but you can see right in that same spot, this one also started to go, and that was just from me pulling it out. It just disintegrated. So yeah, it was definitely time to do this, and this boat was definitely not going to be safe to operate, even for a season with just those in there. So I feel good, and I feel like I've made the right decision. I guess. But so for what's next, I'm going to go in here. I am going to go through and vacuum out all this stuff. I'm going to get all the large debris out. I'm going to get all this stuff cleaned. I am going to start taking apart this bulkhead. As you can see, it's kind of already taken itself apart some more. But I'm going to go through and I'm going to get that pulled out and pried out. And then I am going to start drawing my lines and doing my measurements to do the bulkhead replacement. Now remember, kids, if you have things that come in big cardboard boxes, save them, because they will become templates in the future. As you can see, there's really not much left to this bulkhead. It's pretty much well gone. So what I'm going to do is probably up to that first line. I might even go all the way and just peel out all of this wood coring here and just replace the whole thing with Kusa. And what I'm going to end up doing is, you can see they've got the channels to come through for the transmission and your shaft. So the shaft comes up, meets the transmission, and there's this opening. What I'm going to do is, obviously I'll have this cut out and it'll be tabbed all into the stringers, it'll be tabbed back into the deck, into the hull. But then what I'm going to do is, I'm not going to actually take all of this wood and all of this wood out. What I'm going to end up doing is scarfing in my Kusa on this side, but then all of this is going to get tabbed in with 1708. This will get tabbed in with 1708. Probably a whole sheet here, and then everything else will just get all thickened epoxy, 1708, and glassed, and then we'll have a nice thick bulkhead here now that shouldn't rot. I mean, in theory, it can't anymore. And we'll be back to providing support and structure. The reason why this is kind of tricky on these Bertrams is they have this molded fiberglass tank that's built right into the boat, that's set on the stringers. Now for me, I'm okay to use it because I have diesel. If I was running gas engines in this, I would have to replace this because the ethanol will actually eat right through the fiberglass and just fill your boat and turn it into a bomb. So for the gas guys, they usually end up having to replace these with aluminum tanks. But since I'm diesel, I'm going to actually keep this because the tank is in good shape. and we can use it. So I just have to very carefully, you can see there's some foam. There's foam in here, and then there's also just like the wood is, some of the wood is fiberglass to the tank. So that's why later tonight, which will probably be the conclusion of the video here today, is when my wife gets home from work, we're gonna make a tether through a couple of these panels here. I'm gonna unscrew the entire deck. We're gonna use the gantry crane. We're gonna lift it up. We're gonna slide it back, and then I'm gonna swing it up into the loft, and I'm gonna put the deck up into the loft along with our swim platform and all the other parts up there that are in those boxes. And I'm going to be able to get in then on both sides to be able to do the fiberglassing, as well as to be extra careful not to damage the fuel tank. And then also while I'm at it, I'm going to see if I can get some different angles in here to try to get these shaft hubs off, because they've never been taken off, and the stops, they've got, so these are keyed and they've got the keyway, but then they also have these stops here, and these guys are pretty well gone. I know these camera angles are probably just delightful, but they're pretty much gone too, so I got to get those taken out and get these hubs off, cleaned up, and put a little dripless shaft seal here. That'll be really nice. Hey look, it's airborne. Marie, are you ready on the rope?
I guess so.
Okay. Look at that. That's teamwork. That's a marriage. Woo! Thank you, Marie. What do you think?
I think it's time for dinner.
Okay. Look at that. Fuel tank, coffee can. We are getting very close, people. Very, very close. Very exciting. But to what Marie said, I think it's time for dinner too. So thanks again for watching, guys. This is going to be this episode. And next time, we will probably have the bulkhead glassed in, and you guys will get to see that. We'll make the template, and we should have the engines all done. But thank you guys for watching again. See ya.